Hey guys, welcome to this week's podcast episode. I've got a fantastic guest for you today to add some spice and flavor to the show, Drewbie Wilson, and he's an entrepreneur. And I love having entrepreneurs that talk about crushing the day, personal development, sales, and building a business to inspire and leave the audience coming away with something tangible. So, Drewbie, welcome.
Hey, Chris, thank you so much for having me on the show. I'm excited to be here today.
Yeah, you got an interesting story, you've got an interesting slant on life. You got Crush the Day Before It Crushes You, you got Call the Damn Leads. You are an influencer. So kind of share your story, your early influences and how it led to what you're doing today.
Yeah, absolutely. And I appreciate that. So, growing up, I was kind of outcast in life. I had tattoos and I kind of got into some trouble as a kid, how some of us do. And as I got older and realized, hey, I don't want to spend my life in jail. I don't want to get into trouble. And then got married and had a son. I realized that I needed to make some changes in how I approach life and how I, use my mindset to find success. And so that's really where crushing the day came about. When I first started on my journey, I had gotten to, like 300 pounds. I was a little bit overweight, wasn't really satisfied with the job that I had at the time. And for all intents and purposes, I should have been, right? I was married, had a house, had a kid. I should have had that fulfillment. And I started on a journey of personal development so that I could find that inner joy and what my version of success really meant. Because it's a perspective. What you see is going to be different than what I see, is different than what our parents saw for us, right? So getting that clarity and understanding what I really wanted out of life and then making the decision to be, going after it every single day is really where crushing the day started from. I went on a fitness journey and lost over 100 pounds. I moved out of the insurance career I was in and started a marketing company. That sprung me into an opportunity to do some consulting, which is really where the call to damn leads came into play. Because if you're an entrepreneur or a business owner, you know that, it doesn't matter how great you are and how cool you are. If you're not calling and having conversations and closing sales, the money doesn't just magically appear in your bank account. And so, on my journey in the last 10 years of personal development and 5 years of really high level consulting and working with entrepreneurs, small business owners, and influencers to build on their brand and their business, I've really just found that for me, this is what I love doing. I love showing up. I love waking up every day, setting the example, and sharing the stuff that's worked well for me in my journey. So that if someone else out there is at a point where they're like, hey, I think I want to make a decision to do something different, to make a change in my life, there's someone there who can say, hey, listen, I get it. I've been down that path. Here's what worked for me. Here's what didn't. I hope this can help save some time and energy on your part, because time is the real most valuable asset that we have. We can all make more money. Time and energy we can't get back. So where we spend it, who we spend it with is very important. And I like to give people simple strategies and processes on how to be more effective with their time so that they can crush the day and live their life that they want to live.
Yeah, you touched on so many very inspiring points, and one thing is this definition of success. And I think from an early age, this idea of success in the West is kind of pushed down to us, and it's very one-sided. And I like how your definition of success is different than mine and other people, and it's how you want to manage your time and energy and give back. So delving into it, what's interesting is because you've saved your relationship, you've written a book, you've saved your health, you've built a thriving business. So we'll kind of talk about one thing at a time. And so you talked about the principles of crush the day and kind of talk about kind of your daily routine mindset. I know most of the people I know that are truly successful, they have these morning routines that they do not skip ever. So kind of talk about, these principles.
Yeah, absolutely. So for the crushing the day mentality, I operate by the four sixes. And so what that essentially means is there's really four areas of life that are really important in my opinion. That's sleep. We have to sleep every day because you can't make it very far without that. We have our family and our relationships, right? The people around us that matter. We have our business because we all know we have to make money to, go and have the tools and resources to survive. And then unfortunately, we tend to put ourselves last, which is interesting because if you've ever been on a plane, they tell you you have to put your own oxygen mask on first, or you become a burden to everyone around you. So it's so interesting how we all run around with this mentality and we put ourselves last, and it ends up making it harder to be the best version of ourselves for every other area of life. So my daily routine is broken down like this. There's 4 areas of life that matter. There's 24 hours in a day. So if I want to live balance, I put 6 hours into each category, and then I break it up into, all right, with those 6 hours, what am I going to be intentional and focused on for that category of life? So when I'm thinking about my personal life, am I working out every day? Am I focused on my diet? Am I taking care of my hygiene? Am I going and listening to something motivational or spiritual so I can stay in touch with that side of life? How am I making sure that I'm showing up the best version of me so that when I take my next 6 hours to work on in my business or in my relationships with my family and my friends, I'm more focused? Because have you ever been at work and you're working along, but you're thinking about all the stuff that you should be doing at home? Or then you're at home and you're finally there, and then as soon as you shut the door, you're like, oh man, I should have called John back. I need to write that email sequence. Oh, I didn't close that deal, right? So we get in this weird mind space. So to me, it's like if I spend 6 hours fully focused and intentional on one area in a day, I know I can get so much done that it's literally running laps around anyone else that's not being intentional. So that's really my focus on how do I crush the day is I'm intentional with my time in each of those categories so that I can give each of them an equal amount of my effort and know that I'm getting success in those areas which are important the most to me.
Yeah, that's very powerful, and I know. So I love this idea of intention, and it's really produced results in your family, in your relationship, in your business. Since it's a business podcast, you talk about calling the damn leads and crushing the day, and kind of talk about how has this approach transformed your approach to sales and customer relations.
Yeah, that's a great point. And so most people are like, well, how do you only spend 6 hours a day in your business and still find success? Like I'm grinding 16, 18 hours a day. Well, here's the thing. Most people are, quote, grinding in their business, but they're also scrolling YouTube. They're also like goofing off. They're having water cooler conversations. And it doesn't seem like a whole lot until you sit down and do a time study and you literally track everything you've done minute by minute, hour by hour through the day. And you go back and you're like, well, dang, I really did spend 45 minutes scrolling Instagram reels the other day. And oh man, I did spend an hour and a half in the car driving. And while I could have been listening to a podcast like this one or something that would educate me and keep me growing, I basically just spent the whole time on the phone bitching with my friend about something that wasn't going right in life. And so when you're thinking about where are you spending your time and energy, those are investments. If you were to trade that time and energy into a dollar amount, what did you invest into that thing and what are you going to get a return on? If you spent $1,000 to scroll YouTube reels because you wasted an hour of time, did you get an investment on that?
Mhm.
That's what you got to ask yourself.
Yeah, yeah, I love that. What is the ROI? And and it's always how you invest your time, and goes back to what you were talking about, being intentional and just kind of producing. The next question is building a brand and legacy, and talk about the book as well. But you've successfully turned your experience into books, and you built a recognizable brand. And what's your process for turning personal stories and lessons into compelling content that resonates with others, and leveraging this content to build a lasting legacy?
That's such a great question. Thank you, Chris. I appreciate it because I always like to look back at, Jay-Z said this, I'm not a businessman, I'm a business man. And so when I look at, entrepreneurship, we are the business. People do business with people that they know, like, and trust. Yeah, there may be certain brands that we have an affinity for or like something that we like, but most of the time it's because someone that we knew or liked represented that brand. So like Nike, Jordan, Tiger Woods, right? Who are the Nike superstars? That's why we're attracted to them. We didn't like Nike until those people represented that brand. So that's just a recognition that if you are the brand, people are going to do business with you. So for me, call the damn leads was a catchphrase that I used because I owned a marketing company. And when we had clients that were getting lots of leads, but they were complaining to say that it wasn't working, I'd say, well, did you call the damn leads? Because most of the time, if I picked up the phone and called your leads, I was able to get people on the phone and close sales. So it just to me was just that representation of if you want success, do the work. And my way of telling you to do the work was saying, hey, call the damn leads. And what happened is it started catching on and people started recognizing it and also saying it to their friends and their employees. And so it started building this momentum. And I thought, well, A, if you're going to be a business, then you need to have business assets. And a trademark is a business asset. And so when I put this phrase on a t-shirt and said, well, hey, I want to own it and I want to be able to say it, and anyone else in the world tries to use it, they have to pay me for it. I invested a couple bucks. I bought the trademark. I filed it. I put it on a t-shirt. And now I get this brand that literally represents me and my style and my community and allows me to connect with an entire community and culture of sales professionals and business owners and entrepreneurs, which who do I focus on helping? Sales professionals and business owners and entrepreneurs. So now we have a way to relate with each other that's not just, hey, let me sell you something to get your services. It's like, hey, no, we're in the same industry. It's relatable. We can talk about it. We can have fun. Oh, hey, by the way, this is, you know me, you like me. Now maybe you can trust me enough for me to come in and help you and consult on your business or your company.
So well said. And what's really resonated with me in the sales process is basically you boil it down to per hour. It's like how many leads which you mentioned is, call the damn leads, but and it's like you just per hour, it's how many phone calls are you making? How many people are getting on the line? How many appointments are, and then you basically refine your process and you get your audience and your avatar tighter and tighter, and you get your pitch tighter and tighter to, to where you hit traction. And it's which I really like.
Ooh, I have a really great formula for this. Do you mind if I share it? I think your audience will get a ton of value from it.
Yeah.
Awesome. So I call it the 100-10-2 rule. And this is what it means. Every day that I'm working in my business, I want to make a minimum of 100 outbound contact attempts. So that could be a phone call, a text message, it could be a DM on one of the social platforms, but I'll make 100 outbound attempts every day.
Mm.
In that, I'm trying to have at least 10 serious conversations. So that's like, hey, we connect, we build rapport. I find out you do have a need for my product or service, and I make you an offer to move forward, right? So 10 serious conversations. And of those 10, I'm trying to close 2 sales. So like 100 outbound attempts, 10 conversations, 2 closed sales. It sounds like a lot, and it can be, but here's what I know. If you're working on average 20 to 22 days a month, which is pretty much Monday through Friday, most months of the year, and you stick to this process, you only have to get 2 out of the 3 of those metrics every day to be successful. So like some days you might make 100 calls and have 10 conversations, but you might not close any deals. Like, let's just be honest. Nobody has a 100% close rate. There may also be days where you have 10 conversations and close 5 sales, but you don't make any outbound contact attempts, but you close 5 sales. So it's a balance of getting 2 or 3 of the 110-2 every day. Because if you do that over 20 days, it's almost impossible not to close at least 30 to 40 deals a month with whatever your average commission structure is, then multiply that times 40 a month. Now you know what you're going to make every month.
Yeah. Yeah.
Isn't that cool?
Yeah. It's all numbers. It's almost like numbers game, and also like baseball, the stats, it's like, get the first base, second base, football, it's like first downs, how long you can occupy the clock. Those are kind of the metrics, and the same thing with business. And so you mentioned this. I love that tidbit that you just shared. And with social media, now you can actually do that much faster. You can have greater reach and scale. So kind of talk about how has social media played a role in your professional success? What tips do you have for mastering it?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I am one of those individuals who will tell you first and foremost, if you're listening to this and you're like, I don't know about social media, like I still kind of get weirded out by it. I also used to feel that same way. I didn't like social media. I didn't want to be on there. I thought it was like this weird platform. And then someone convinced me to look at it not as a way to just waste time, but to be very intentional with creating relationships.
Mm,
And if you look at social media as a whole, it was designed so that other people could creep on you and live vicariously through the content that you're putting out. Like a bunch of nerdy dudes made it so that they could watch a bunch of pretty girls and see what they were up to. Fast forward 20 years or whatever it's been, now it's a platform where friends, family members, people who don't know you but want to know you can go to your profile to learn who you are and what you're all about, essentially creating an opportunity to build relationship. So as a business owner, entrepreneur, sales professional, if your intention is to go on there and create content that specifically speaks to your ideal client avatar, could be a sales professional between 25 and 45 who's making on average 100 to $150,000 a year and wants to make twice that. Okay, cool. Now I know specifically who I'm talking to, what I need to be talking about so that they'll see the conversation and relate to it. And if I spend all my time focused on just building those relationships, what do you think is going to be the outcome?
you're gonna have a, really good business, make you're gonna make your metrics, double your.
People that you're supposed to meet, right? You're going to meet the ideal client. The problem with most people on social media is they're just throwing a bunch of stuff out there with no intentionality and expecting the world to say, you're the expert in financial services. You're the expert in XYZ. I should buy from you. But that's not how it works. People want to do business with people that they know, like, and trust. So if you can build a relationship by sharing things that are relatable to your ideal client so that they'll get to know who you are and they'll like you because you share funny memes or silly things that make them laugh and create an emotional response, well, then who are they going to most likely trust when it comes time to get that product or service? The guy that they already know is the guy.
Yeah. Oh, it's so fascinating, and because like same thing here. It was like I didn't like social media because I wasn't pretty and I wasn't like a athlete or celebrity, and I thought I had no role. But then I kind of, when people were using social media for business, I'm like, oh, okay, there's a place for me. When TikTok came out, I can't dance for
I can't dance either, Chris. Don't worry.
But now, like short form, you can have like talking heads and you can have different things. So it's really interesting. It's a tool and you have to be intentional. And I actually had a podcast guest, the same thing. He said he uses social media to initiate conversation so that he can create that relationship. He's not using it to he's not trying to get to a million. He's just trying to create an audience and a community, which is profound. It's really profound because everybody's thinking like, oh, I got to be 1 million followers, and I have to be pretty and I have to dance. And so kind of ended out with kind of common mistakes or how people can get started, and where can they find your book and your work.
I appreciate that. And again, I want to thank you for the opportunity to be here and share with the listener, and for the listener to take the time to be here with us. I mean, to invest this time to learn and grow is so important and so valuable. So we appreciate that. And I'll leave you with this. The worst thing that you can do is do nothing. Now that you're here, now that you've learned this information, whichever tidbit stood out to you and was like, ooh, that resonated, I should do something with that, take action on it. Here's something that really hit me hard. My mother-in-law, God bless her soul, she's like listening to my podcast, and I was telling her I was thinking about quitting doing it one time, and she's like, don't ever quit. How blessed is your son to know that if anything ever happened to you, all of this content that you've created, the books that you've written, the posts that you've made, they literally live forever so that he or anyone that wants to know about you can go back and get this information. And
Um,
so if you're a business owner, if you're an entrepreneur, if you're a sales professional, if you're a human being that's here listening to this podcast right now, let me encourage you to share your story. There is someone out there who could benefit greatly from it, who could learn, who could grow. And our job and duty on this planet is to serve the community. And when you show up as a servant, sales becomes a byproduct. It literally just happens by accident because people just want to be a part of your life. And
mm,
so create the content, put it out there. You're never going to be perfect. You're never going to feel like it's the greatest thing ever. I promise you that the greatest thing you can do is just start and stay consistent.
mm.
and just know that it's going to affect someone somewhere down the line. Whether you know about it or not, you're creating a ripple effect for a lifetime and an eternity by sharing your story. So that's what it's all about. Chris, this is what it is, right? You're out here, you're sharing your story, you're helping guys like me and ladies like, your other guests come out and share their story so that we can help one individual who may go on to change the entire future of humanity. So that's my request to you. If you're here, just start, just take action and stay consistent, because that's what's going to create the most success in your life.
I love that. It's so inspiring. And if you show up with the right energy, the result will produce itself, and it'll attract the right audience, just like you said. I love that. What a fantastic episode. And for all the audience, Drewbie's resources will be in the links and show notes. Be sure to give him a like and follow. Check out his book. It's on Amazon. And with that, thanks so much for coming on.
Thank you, Chris. I appreciate y'all. Have a great day.